Hello everybody and bonjour from Paris. This is episode number 51 of my series of live stream guided tours through the City of Light. My name's Frye, French Fry in Paris. The idea is if you can't bring yourself to Paris at this moment, I'm going to bring it to you. And here we are. We're in the 9th arrondissement. And as I wait for a few live viewers to show up, I'm going to give you the pan of this beautiful area called Place Saint-Georges. And if you're not live right now, then you're watching on the replay, and thank you for that. I appreciate it. Hello everybody, I see those familiar names popping up. Love it. We took last week off, so I'm kind of jonesing for this. I don't know about you all, and it feels good to be back in the swing of things. There's a lot of goodness here. So it's called Place Saint-Georges. We're in the 9th arrondissement, which we have explored previously, but not this section. And so there's some real good stuff. Hello everybody, bonjour to you all. And let's jump right in because as usual, I've got a lot of stuff to show you, a lot of things to cover. And I always run long on these episodes, longer than I plan to. And so let's go ahead and do Place Saint-Georges. So what are we looking at here? The 9th arrondissement was developed mostly what we can see here in the 1820s and 30s. It's a period of Paris history we call the Restoration. Long story short, it's the French Revolution, right? You know, they got rid of Marie Antoinette, Louis XVI, chopped their heads off, something called the guillotine. You all know about it. But then when the dust settled and Napoleon had come and gone, they tried to restore a constitutional monarchy. They literally brought back, I don't know why they thought this was a good idea, but they brought back a couple of brothers of Louis XVI. So imagine you guillotine your king and then eventually a couple of his brothers come into power. And so we're talking Louis XVIII, we're talking Charles X. And this square here, 1820, it was born out of the Restoration period. And so that period, you know, that era in Paris saw a rebirth of squares and architecture and these what back then would be sort of outer boroughs of the city. And so let's just get started here. Look at this beautiful metropolitan sign here. This is the stop called Saint-Georges. It's line number 12. That's the easiest way to get here if you ever want to explore this neighborhood. Hi everybody, it's great to see your names there. I'm so glad you are joining me. Let's get a little closer to this sign. Yes, beautiful. So that is the Saint-Georges metro station if you want to find your way here at line 12. What's going on with this building here? This is the original was built in 1830. And interesting character lived here. In the 1840s, a gentleman called Adolphe Thiers. Let me zoom in here. You can actually see his last name right here. Thiers was an interesting historical figure. He was the leader of the government after the Franco-Prussian War. It was a huge disaster for France. And he was at the head of the attack on the Commune. The Commune was one, here, let me show you what I'm going to do is I'm going to prop myself up here. Give you a nice look. Ugh. That's what's going on here. Let's do a proper poke through. So this palace, Adolphe Thiers, it's the 1870s and he's leading the government. The Prussians, the Germans had ravaged Paris, besieged it, starving Paris. And the Commune of 1870 and 71, maybe you've heard of it. Working class folks, men, women, children of these working class neighborhoods rose up, and they rose up against this guy. And sadly, Adolphe Thiers, who resided here with his wife, ordered for the French army, the French military, to go and take out the Parisians, take out these communards that were revolting. And so it was a very bloody, they actually called it La Semaine Sanglante, the week of blood. And he was the guy behind it. So not a very popular figure at all, at least for the sort of left-leaning working class of Paris that were part of that commune. And so they actually burned down this building. This thing got torched by the revolutionaries of the commune, and they had to rebuild. But still a beautiful, beautiful palace. Oh, let me show you can you make out the title up there? It's now a bibliothèque. It's actually part of the French Institute. You know that beautiful domed building at the end of the Pont des Arts, the original Lovelock Bridge? Ugh, there we go. So that's what this is today. It's an extension of the bibliothèque of the Institut de France. You can visit it a couple days a week. I've never been inside, but you can. Mr. Thiers has his. They still have his old library and his archives inside there. So it just adds to the architecture, even though that character of Thiers was a controversial one. California's in the house. I see Sydney, Australia's here. Fantastic. So I love this little square. It gives that village atmosphere. This was such a discovery for me when I found Place Saint-Georges here in the 9th arrondissement. So we've got a fountain here, and what's going on? That gentleman, you may not have heard of him. He was a popular artist here back in the day. His name was Gavarni. Gavarni lived right nearby, just behind me on the Rue Saint-Georges, and he was an illustrator and lithographer, and that's what he's doing up there, his bust. And if I scan down here, he would illustrate some of the popular publications of the time, a magazine called the Charivari. He also illustrated a lot of Balzac novels back in the day. And so he was famous for these kind of carnival, almost like circus performer figures, and that's what's playing out here. That's what he's remembered for. Gavarni was his name. And then there's some beauty down here too. This fountain is from 1911, but the previous one would have been another fountain that would just be for the horses to drink out of. The fountains in these squares would double as troughs of water for the horses, which of course were the mode of transportation. And I'm just giving you the walk around here. One of you just said, nice weather, blue sky. I got to tell you, it could change at any moment, because today's one of those weird days where it goes from blue sky and sun to all of a sudden a torrential downpour. And it's been switching off and on. I almost had to cancel this episode, but I decided, well, I'll just pop an umbrella in my pocket and we'll make it work. All right, so that is the tribute to Gavarni, one of the local artists here, great illustrator, lithographer. And let me back up. Let me show you what's behind me, and then I want to do a fun, show you a fun visual. Again, that name Saint-Georges is prevalent here in this area, and I want to show you that when they built this building, for whatever reason, there were almost no windows. So what they did was they painted these trompe-l'oeil fake windows. And so that makes this building quite unique, where it would have otherwise been rather boring. There's even a little gargoyle figure over here, if you can make that out. Here to the left, I'll get a little closer. Pretty cool effect, right? With the trompe-l'oeil, to trick the eye, is what that means. And so these are, everything that you're looking at, well, except for this one here, everything else is 2D. 2D, 2D, 2D. That one on the right isn't, but there you go. So that's the Théâtre Saint-Georges, just down this street, which is the Rue Saint-Georges. At number 37, Renoir lived. Now, we did a previous episode called The Door Tour, and I encourage you to check that out on YouTube or my Facebook page, French Fry in Paris. And down there at number 37, we were there during the Door Tour, and we talked about how Renoir lived down there at the time of the first Impressionist exhibit. So you can imagine what that period of his life was like. And this area is called, one of its nicknames is La Nouvelle Athènes, the New Athens. And I touched upon this when we did the Artists of the 9th arrondissement a few episodes ago. This whole area, when it was built up, 1820s, 1830s, a lot of the architecture was inspired by ancient Greece. And so one of the poets in this neighborhood once just called it the New Athens. And the name stuck. So La Nouvelle Athènes is one of the monikers of this hood, as it were. And I think it's quite fitting because there was such a concentration of artists in this area. So why am I standing here? Why are we still here? I want to show you, we're going to focus in on this view. Do you know this? I printed out some stuff. You know, the last episode when we were in Rouen, we had some fun comparing a painting to the existing scenery. Now, this is not the scene where we are, but you may recognize this painter, or this painting rather. His name was Caillebotte. A little closer there. Gustave Caillebotte was born in Paris. Sorry, it's very windy today. I'm doing my best here. So you recognize this, right? Well, that same artist did a scene here. And let me grab that. It's in my pocket. I'm trying to be ambidextrous here. Okay, so take a look at this. Different fountain. In 1880, I want to show you this. So you see fountain, intersection, street leaving to the left, and that's what it looks like today. So it has changed, different fountain, as I said. But this is Caillebotte. Caillebotte was an amazing painter in his own right, but he was also friends with all those impressionists that you know and love. And he was not only one of their contemporaries and a friend, but he was a supporter of those artists. He rented an apartment to Monet. He was the godfather of Renoir's child. He purchased from Renoir that famous painting at the Orsay dance at the Moulin de la Galette that we all love so much. No one would buy it from Renoir, and Mr. Caillebotte, who painted this, was taking care of his friends and purchasing some of those early Impressionist canvases that nobody else wanted. And so I just wanted to share that with you. Hopefully you enjoyed that. We've got a nice little hidden space, and let's see if I can peek you up over the gate to get a look there. Sorry, I can barely see what's on my screen, so I hope I'm showing you something interesting. I'm on my tippy toes here for y'all. Back through the gate. Speaking of the concentration of artists, Mr. Gauguin, who was an amazing artist in his own right and known for being a good friend of Vincent van Gogh, he was there at the time that Van Gogh cut his ear off. There's even a theory that maybe Gauguin was the one who mistakenly cut off Van Gogh's ear, because we still don't know exactly how that played out down in Arles. But look at this beauty of the building. It's the 1830s, if I'm not mistaken. And again, they're bringing back the neoclassical ideas of ancient Greece, ancient Rome. It has a very neo-Renaissance style. And look at that. Again, let's pop through here. You should know that this gate here of where I am at the Place Saint-Georges, this gate that we're at is open on the weekends, or weekdays, excuse me. Weekdays, there's an organization that runs their offices out of here, and you can just push through this gate. And the thumbnail that I used to advertise this tour with the ivy and the open gate, it's within this space, and so I encourage you to come through on a weekday and check it out. Look at that, that's just stunning. So again, neo-Renaissance, they're bringing back ancient Greece, ancient Rome, and that's why this neighborhood is sometimes referred to as the New Athens, La Nouvelle Athènes. Gauguin, oh, hold on, I gotta make sure that I gotta come back through the gate the same way I came in, otherwise my mic cord gets all tangled up. Quatrième étage, so in French we're gonna count, let's see, in French we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, right at the top actually is where Gauguin would have stayed. So there you go. Beautiful building. And another beautiful one here. Let me show you this set of doors. Look at this. Ooh. Let me pop you through here. This is the neighborhood where we did the door tour, as I mentioned, and it bleeds into this episode as well. Stunning. I know just about 99% of you love a good door, so there you go. Jennifer Warren says, Doralicious. Oh, let me give you that view too. Just down the street that way, to the south, is a very good cafe here at number 19, and it's called La Compagnie du Café, keep that in mind. If you want a real good coffee shop, that place, La Compagnie de Café rather, is really good for cheesecake. They have an amazing pancakes if you want to go there for breakfast. But isn't this square just dynamite? When I showed you that painting that Caillebotte painted of this square, he was probably up in one of these windows. He had an elevated view. So we're going to leave the Place Saint-Georges, looking back toward the old palace of Adolphe Thiers. And let me show you an extremely well-hidden garden that is certainly worth your time in this area. Catch the name of it there. Square Alex Biscard. Little playground here, and I just love, I've mentioned this before in other episodes, but I love when they've got a blank wall and they don't leave it blank. They add a little bit of faux architecture, a little, you know, a bit more of that trompe-l'oeil fake 3D effect. I think that's nice. Better than a bunch of graffiti, I think we all agree. And let me show you this hidden little space. It's great. This is a book borrowing section. You can see this gentleman here. leave a book, take a book. Here we go. Isn't this lovely? Springtime flowers are definitely blooming. The cherry blossoms are gone, but the wisteria is going crazy. The lilac, tulips, of course, is still around. Isn't this just great? So, like all the parks, is lined with at least a dozen benches. Ultra local. Nobody finds this place by mistake, really. You kind of got to know that it's here. And let me walk you all the way around to give you the perspective of Adolf's palace. Margaret Croft says, nice slice of Saturday morning Paris life. So isn't that wonderful? So again, there are benches all around behind me. Hi Diana, hi June Parham. I see all those great names coming through. Yeah, I mean, this is just lovely. So keep this in mind. You know, I should mention, if you're not already aware, I have a Patreon website, and my members who are pledging $10 or more will get access to a series of maps of many of these episodes. And so eventually when I upload this episode, you will be able to find, you know, exactly where this is, and you can enjoy this on your own. And this whole walk will be mapped out for you. All right, let's move on. Speaking of Patreon, what my members are going to get today, as usual, is a tour extension, an extended version of this walk today live, to see even more of this great neighborhood. We're going to explore a wonderful church called Notre Dame de Lorette. It's where Monet was baptized. It's where they've got beautiful murals inside, stunning work. I think there's a choir that's practicing there today, so we might get an extra treat of some live music in Notre Dame de Lorette. And then we're gonna have a cafe chat with one of our own Frye members. Her name is Claudine Hemingway. Can't wait to talk with Claudine Hemingway. By the way, she does have a distant relation to Mr. Ernest Hemingway, and that's one of the many things that we're gonna talk about during our chat. We're looking back toward Place Saint-Georges. Ooh, I can feel a few raindrops. I hope the skies don't open up like they have been. Some doorways not to be missed. Look at this beautiful, almost like scales coming down the edge here. This is a hotel. And then there's another one here next door. Hey, Paul Liebhardt. Welcome, buddy. Heather's hubby, Paul Liebhardt. That's great that you decided to join us. I appreciate it. Heather's one of my favorite audience members for sure. Look at this beauty. Oh boy, it's starting to rain for real, so might have to pull out the old umbrella here. Yeah, it's raining for real now. Hold on. Okay, this is exactly what the afternoon has been like today. So, there we go, umbrella. I'm sure you can hear it. We go from sun and blue skies to this. Back and forth, back and forth. Welcome to April, right? April in Paris. But the show must go on, folks. You know how it goes. I want to show you this Invader Mosaic, right? Our very famous street artist has this mosaic up there, the lady. I'm sure there's a significance. I don't know exactly. You know, usually Invader doesn't just randomly put a design. So that might be related to a character from the history of this neighborhood. It's quite possible. If anybody has a theory or they recognize that lady in the dress, then let me know. But that's our famous guy Invader. I know it's real because I use his app that he created for the iPhone that will tell you if it's authentic or not. And then let me, I just want to show you the beautiful color, even on a a rainy day. A beautiful salmon color of that building. I'm in love with it. And it gives you, I think, a little glimpse back to the, the early 1800s when this neighborhood would have been created. It had perhaps a little more of a village vibe to it. Peggy saying hello from the mountains of Colorado. It's so cool that everybody can join me from all the four corners of the world. Sometimes I get Dubai and India and all kinds of cool stuff. Sometimes people are 30,000 feet in the air in an airplane and somehow they're managing to watch. My favorite was Juan Alba, one of our great followers. I think he was at Yankee Stadium and he managed to pull out his phone and he was watching my live tour from Paris while he's watching the game. We got another little square here, and I want to just show you a few details. Again, this is ultra local in the 9th arrondissement. This is just a place where daily life plays out, village vibe. Ooh, it's raining good now. We've got, there's hail. Can you make that out? Can you see the hail bouncing? Anyway, why not throw a little hail in there? This is a Wallace Fountain. If you know Paris, you know and love these already. And then this is the new initiative of the newsstands. Some people are quite dismayed that the old newsstands of Paris, the iconic historic ones, are being replaced by these more modern versions. But the idea was the mayor really wanted them more comfortable for the owners, the gentlemen who are running them, and just more space, have them modernized. And so that's what it looks like. It's up to you to decide whether, you think the modernization is worth it or if you prefer the old style. Let me cut across here. Oh boy, here we go. Maybe you can see the hail there. Yeah. Well, that's a first. It took us 51 episodes to get hail, but there you go. Oh my goodness, look at this. All right. Look at these balconies, gorgeous. Rain, sleet, snow, who cares? We're still looking at these damn balconies. And then the, some stonework around the door here at number 7. I gotta show you too, how they used to protect the corners of the buildings with something called a chasse-roue. A chasse-roue, you might be familiar. Usually it's like right here in the corner, it's a lump of stone maybe on the corner or a piece of iron that curves out. But look at this version, you see that? What a very unique, allez-y, c'est bon, merci. What a unique way for the owner here to protect the corner. Isn't that lovely? It's really one of the very rare versions of that I've ever seen. The old days, the carts and carriages, the side of their wheels would tend to gouge these limestone corners of the buildings, and so that's what that's all about. Now let me show you this over here. Building next door, likely the same architect. Also a lovely doorway. And I also want to show you here, can you make it out in the center of your screen? There are 4 initials. It says MACL. MACL originally stood for Maison Assurée contre l'Incendie, which means this house is insured against fire damage. But during the French Revolution, to remind you, the revolutionaries who hated Marie Antoinette made a different meaning for this and saw it as Marie Antoinette coquille Louis, and that would mean that Marie Antoinette's cheating on King Louis, on her husband. So that wasn't the original meaning of those 4 initials, but during the Revolution, MACL, Marie Antoinette coquille Louis. Spoiler alert, they didn't like Marie Antoinette at all back then. You may have known that already. Let me show you the rest of this square. What's nice about it is, isn't that great? Just a series of these little uber local cafes. Some people say that this place on the left coming up is the best Indian in town. So if you're into Indian food and you need a break from French, check that out, Kasturi. We're just north of the Place Saint-Georges. And then there's a stunning doorway here. Again, we could make this a door tour just like several others. Let's get a little closer. Yeah, stuff. Nice touch with the greenery on either side. And a nice place to come home to. And a bit of wind for good measure. This the name of this place is funny. Look, the No Stress Cafe. Let me show you the name of this square in case you want to come back for that good Indian food or some of these visuals. Here it is. Gustave Toulouse. He was a big enough name back in the day that he got his name attached to the square, but we don't really talk about him anymore. He's been forgotten by history to an extent. And, well, that's a nice visual. That's what I should have started with to give you the overview of where we were. Nice. Okay, we're going to wrap up soon because I want to show you down here a very exciting address, which is where Vincent van Gogh bought his paints. How cool is that? It's where Impressionists hung out all the time, and when they needed art supplies, they came down this street. And we'll finish up with that, and then we'll move to the private tour extension for my Patreon followers. If you want to become a Patreon member and get perks, extra content, and essentially more Paris with private postings and whatnot, then go ahead and check out the link in the post here in the replay. Here at number 23, not related to Van Gogh, but related to Pissarro, one of the greats of that Impressionist era. Pissarro lived up here in the 1860s with his former maid. He fell in love with his maid and ended up having not one kid or two kids with her, but 8 children with his former maid. I don't believe they ever married, but they were companions, and this is a lovely color here of this door, isn't it? So, we've already got a long list of artists in this hood. Add Pissarro to that. I should mention too, I gotta assume that a few of you are new to this whole deal. I'm a tour guide, full-time tour guide in Paris. If you want to contact me, you can find that link as well. Request info through my blog. And if you're coming to Paris and you decide that you want to see some of this with me in real life, in person, then go ahead and contact me and we can set up a guided tour. I'm giving people tours here in Paris almost every day. Let me show you this doorway here that is lovely enough, but there's something interesting. Oh, someone's passing by. Everyone's running to get out of the rain. Look at this. Sorry. These are moving somehow. And I don't know why, sorry. Is it just broken? Or is it meant to do that? It feels like it's meant to do that, like maybe you put mail through there? I know it's a random detail, but I just wanted to point that out. I've never seen that. Anyway, that's lovely. Let's finish here. Ah, Père Tanguy. This is so exciting. This was the location of the shop where the famous Père Tanguy supported the Impressionists and Vincent van Gogh and Gauguin and others. And so this was an art supply store. And Père Tanguy, how am I going to do this with I was really hoping it wouldn't rain because I got one other image to share with you. If you're a die-hard Van Gogh fan or just a mediocre fan, you may have come across this image, this portrait. This is Père Tanguy, done by Van Gogh. And he was a very kind soul, a very nice man, a very supportive man. And Van Gogh painted his portrait, I believe, a couple of times. Today, this very painting here, as my umbrella falls off me, this very painting is at the Rodin Museum, because it was part of Rodin's collection that he left to the state. And so, okay, I was holding my umbrella with my neck, sorry. And so, isn't that exciting? Van Gogh would come here, he could get a line of credit thanks to Père Tanguy, which means Father Tanguy. That was his nickname because he was taking care of everybody. And so Van Gogh could get a line of credit, he could get his canvases, he could get his tubes of paint here. And it wasn't just Van Gogh. We're talking Cézanne, Gauguin, Toulouse-Lautrec, Renoir, and they all hung out here and they were taken care of. Now, if you would have walked by here in the 1880s, you might have seen Van Gogh's paintings literally hanging in the window because Père Tanguy, the owner of this art supply store, wanted to help out Van Gogh and see if they could sell a few of his paintings. But you know, Van Gogh famously only sold one single painting in his life. So even though they put his work in the window, it didn't sell. But this was a great meeting place of all of those incredible artists. And it's just so exciting, if you're a fan of art history at all, to walk through these streets. Today it's a jewelry shop. I don't know if you've made that out. And their current logo of the business here and their business card and whatnot has a sunflower. And so, of course, it's referencing Van Gogh. And even some of their jewelry that they're creating has a sunflower motif. I don't know if we can see any of that here, but I will give you the view. Julia Gray just asked a great question. She said, this is not far from the Rue des Martyrs, is it? And no, not at all. Just to the right of us, as we stand here, is the Rue des Martyrs, which is a great foodie street. And we'll do that. We'll do an episode of that one day. So there it is, folks. We're going to wrap up with that. Beautiful doors, village vibe, amazing art history, a bit of hail, and the shop where Van Gogh would get his art supplies and exhibit his work. So there you go. Again, you can see that portrait of Père Tanguy if you go to the Rodin Museum, the Musée Rodin in Paris. So thanks, everybody. I'm not going to switch the camera on myself because my hands are full, but from this slightly sunny / rainy / haily afternoon, thanks so much. I hope you join me next weekend for episode number 52. I don't know where we're going to be, but it's going to be somewhere cool. And if you want to take a tour with me when you're in Paris, contact me via the link in this description. HD replay coming up soon, maybe tonight or tomorrow on YouTube and Facebook if you want to see this nice and crisp and clean. And Patreon. My supporters should pop over to our Café Chat group, our private Facebook group, because we're going to have a lovely talk, or a tour extension rather, of the church, and also a talk with Claudine Hemingway. That's all, folks. Have a lovely rest of your Saturday. Appreciate the support, and I'll talk to you soon. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.